Mega Uggo. Good for her. This is pretty sad. This is probably the ugliest of them all. The Ugly Duckling. Gotta read that. Jeez, Lou. I'm going to read it this month, and that's a threat to myself. There's quite literally no one asking me to do this, but Medusa wanted to be in another video, so I can't exactly withhold that from her. Here she is. She recently had some heart issues, or what we thought were heart issues, so she had to go get an EKG done by a cardiologist, and they had to shave her chest, shave her belly. But her heart's good. She just has another blood pressure medication she had to start. High blood pressure queen on her hands. She is a senior citizen. She gets 2 blood pressure medications, and she has to have Miralax in her food every single day, otherwise she can't poop. So, true senior citizen here. Okay, books I want to read in July. The books I want to read in July are largely dictated by library due dates, which I know is like always what my TBR is typically dictated by. But by the end of this month, I'm actually going to be moving out of state. So it's like really, I can't renew these because I'm going to be moving to a completely different state, going to a completely new library. So I need to read these, return them, get her done. Because a lot of these are library books, they are going to have really, they're just ugly to look at because they have no dust covers, some of them. So in the case of the Uggos, I'll put up other prettier covers when I edit. But the first book that I want to read is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is about a middle school teacher turned astronaut who wakes up far in outer space with amnesia and then slowly pieces together, oh, I'm here on a mission to try and help the Earth not die, because I guess like solar dimming is happening, so the sun is like, I think, starting to like go out. And so kind of like the movie Sunshine. And yeah, there's like threat of extinction of humanity on Earth. So he's got to save the world. And I'm excited to read this because it's pretty universally beloved, but I'm also a little nervous to read it because if I don't like it, I don't want to incur the wrath of the internet. We'll see. I hope I like it. Next, I want to read Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. This is about a woman who takes photographs and I think maybe videos of pretty average looking men. I think she's kind of like she's kind of having a rough time in her life. She's placed on sabbatical from her dead-end bar job, but then she's offered an exhibition at a fashionable London gallery, promising to revive her career, offering an escape from her rut of drugs, alcohol, and extreme cinema. The news triggers a self-destructive tailspin centered around Arena's relationship with her obsessive best friend and a shy young man from her local supermarket who has attracted her attention. I think this is supposed to be pretty muffed up, so I'm excited. I hope I like it. Okay, next I want to read Notice by Heather Lewis. I think this is also supposed to be pretty kind of a bummer, kind of messed up. So I don't know if the main character is ever named because the synopsis just refers to her as she and her. She was raised by a wealthy family in an unnamed American suburb. As a young adult, she started to turn tricks in the parking lot of the local bar, catching commuters on their way home. Not because she needed the money, but because the money made explicit what sex had always been for her, a loveless transaction. But then a sadist takes her home to replay family dramas with his beautiful wife, and she becomes hopelessly drawn into their dangerous web, basically gets in trouble, gets arrested, gets confined to a psychiatric ward where a therapist is assigned to help her, but instead of treating her, the therapist begins a sexual relationship with her. So this woman is definitely victimized many times in this book, I think, and yes, I think this is supposed to be a pretty tough read. So I'm looking forward to it, but I hope that, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I'm planning to read this month are all like real big bummers. So I hope that I'm not just like brought way down, Okay, but the next one should be kind of fun. I think this one's more so just weird. So this is The Hike by Drew Magary. And I think this is about a guy who's like, he's on a business trip, but he decides before dinner to go on a hike. And then it kind of just becomes like this like Alice in Wonderland type fever dream, like acid trip type thing. Ben finds himself falling deeper and deeper into a world of man-eating giants, bizarre demons, and colossal insects. On a quest of epic life-or-death proportions, Ben finds help in some of the most unexpected forms, including a profane crustacean and a variety of magical objects, tools, and potions. At once bitingly funny and emotionally absorbing, Magary's novel is a remarkably unique addition to the contemporary fantasy genre, one that draws as easily from the world of classic folktales as it does from video games. This sounds fun. So this is probably what I'll read when I like have read a few downers and I'm like, bro, I need something light. This sounds light. This sounds weird. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, next, another downer. The next one I want to read is Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z. Brite. Another huge uggo. Mega uggo. This is about a man who is like a serial killer. Him killing young men is like an art form. So he's obviously very psychotic, very deluded. He feigns his own death to escape prison. He escapes, goes to the United States, meets another guy who I think is also kind of cuckoo crazy, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Oh, I have Medusa hair in my mouth. So together these two crazy guys set their sights on an exquisite young Vietnamese-American runaway Tran whom they deem to be the perfect victim. So another pretty muffed up, spooky, scary skeletons story. Next is a book that has been on my TBR since April. It was on my April TBR in my April TBR video. Have not read it yet, so I finally got it. I finally got the hair. But I'm going to read it this month, and that's a threat to myself. I'm gonna read it. Better read it. Anyway, I want to read Out by Natsuo Kirino. This is pretty sad. This is probably the ugliest of them all. The Ugly Duckling. Like, what have they done? What have they done to this book? Jeez, Lou. Anyway, Out by Natsuo Kirino. This is about a woman in Japan, a Japanese woman, if you will. She works a night shift making boxed lunches, but then one day she brutally strangles her deadbeat husband and then seeks the help of her coworkers to dispose of the body. So I think this one could be dark, obviously, because they're like, you know, brutally strangling your deadbeat husband. Okay, yeah, that's dark. But depending on the tone, I think it could be kind of like, good for her. You know? Like, I'm kind of already on her side. Last physical thing I want to read is The Deeper the Water, the Uglier the Fish by Katya Apekina. This is about two sisters who, one of them finds their mother attempting suicide, but they find her quickly enough that the mother gets sent to a psychiatric hospital, and then the two daughters are sent to live with their estranged father. I think it's like them dealing with the grief of like what has happened to their mother, being separated from their mother, but then also like sort of navigating the weird new relationship with their previously estranged father. And I think in navigating this, it kind of like fractures the family apart. Very excited because this title is bomb. Cover, bomb. Hope the story is also bomb. Okay, now audiobooks. So I looked ahead on Libby to see like what's going to be available to me in the next coming weeks. Looks like the first thing I'll be able to listen to is House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. I'm excited to read this one, which is surprising me because it is a young adult book. But this follows three sisters who have always been really strange. They've always been made fun of for being like witches and stuff. And when they were young children, they disappeared for a week. And then when they returned, they all just had this same crescent moon-shaped scar on their necks. And then their appearances started to kind of change a little bit. Basically, this follows the youngest sister. And when her older sister goes mysteriously missing, she and her, like, middle sister have to try and figure out what happened to her, find her, and then they realize that they're going to have to figure out the mystery of what happened to them as kids in order to find their sister. I'm excited to read this one. The cover is so gorge. Yeah, I have high hopes. The synopsis sounds really, really interesting. Next is the book that I wouldn't normally pick up, but I watch Sunny Book Nook, who is another booktuber, and they recently read this, and they just said it was like really, really weird, and I like really, really weird stuff. So that is The First Bad Man by Miranda July. I don't even really know how to like. This is about a woman named Cheryl, a tightly wound, vulnerable woman who lives alone with a perpetual lump in her throat. She's haunted by a baby boy she met when she was 6, who sometimes recurs as other people's babies. Cheryl is also obsessed with Philip, a philandering board member at the women's self-defense nonprofit where she works. She believes they've been making love for many lifetimes, though they have yet to consummate in this one. Okay, unhinged female narrator. I'm on board. When Cheryl's bosses ask if their 21-year-old daughter, Clee, can move into her house for a little while, Cheryl's eccentrically ordered world explodes. And yet it is Clee, the selfish, cruel, blonde bombshell, who bullies Cheryl into reality and unexpectedly provides her the love of a lifetime. The First Bad Man is dazzling, disorienting, and unforgettable. It sounds pretty weird, but I think this is one where if I had just read that synopsis, I wouldn't have been like, gotta read that. But it's because the Sunny Book Nook was like, weird. I want to read it. Next, I want to listen to Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka. This is about a man who is on death row. He's set to die in 12 hours for the murder of, I think, a bunch of girls. We're told the story from the point of view of 3 women who are connected to this man in some way. We get the point of view of like his mother, the twin sister of his wife, and then the detective, like the police woman. As the clock ticks down, these 3 women sift through the choices that culminate in tragedy, exploring the rippling fissures that such destruction inevitably leaves in its wake. Notes on an Execution presents a chilling portrait of womanhood as it simultaneously unravels the familiar narrative of the American serial killer, interrogating our system of justice and our cultural obsession with crime stories, asking readers to consider the false promise of looking for meaning in the psyches of violent men. So my sister has already listened to this. This is a new release from this year, and she said it's a contender for her favorite of this year, so I am excited to get into this one. And then the last one that I want to listen to is The Changeling by Victor LaValle. So I tried reading The Devil in Silver by him last month. Did not like it. Ended up DNFing it. I'm hoping I have better luck with this one, but this follows a man who, he and his wife, or I guess his wife has recently given birth to their baby. And then the wife starts exhibiting symptoms of postpartum depression and potentially postpartum psychosis. Before he can do anything to help, his wife commits a horrific act beyond any parent's comprehension and vanishes seemingly into thin air. So I think the novel is him trying to find his wife and find his baby and become a happy family again. But this is definitely a horror book, so I'm hoping and thinking that's probably not going to be the case. That's what I want to read in July. Thank you for watching. What are you reading? Tell me. Okay. Anyway, bye. Okay.